Hey guys, guess what? We're engaged! Hello and welcome back to Granted Gardens. This is a really special video. We just announced our engagement officially and everybody knows now. So I wanted to make sure that we did an introductory video and told you all. So we're really excited, yay! We're so excited. So today, what we're doing for a garden video, it is October 3rd. It's October 3rd. Comment a smiley face below if you get that. And we are going to be going through the garden a little bit, cleaning up a little bit. We're moving the grapes today. Tyler's been working on cutting them down a bit so we can get those transplanted. I've got some stuff that I just need to get through, and then I'm going to try and clean out the greenhouse a little bit too, rearrange that. A lot of the stuff in there is like dying off, so we're going to pull out some of that stuff. And so we're just going to do a little bit like of a day in the life kind of video and just walk you guys through some of the stuff that we're doing with the transfer to fall. So check it out. So I'm in the greenhouse. My game plan today is to go through some of these tomato plants that are in here. They're dying back. I think it really just got too hot in here in the summertime for some of these large plants. And so their lifespan is just not quite as long as we'd hope for. So the ones that are dying, I'm just going to go ahead and pick the tomatoes off of them, even if they're green. And we've got a ton of green tomatoes from when Tyler pulled out his tomatoes as well. So we might be doing some processing tomorrow, maybe making some relish or some salsa with that. And then I got some lettuce back here I need to pick, so I got my basket and I'm just going to go through and pick what I can find. I do also have some cherry tomatoes that, it's the blue goldberry cherries that we did in here, and they actually are doing really well, so I'm going to pick from them too. So these blue goldberry cherries, they look kind of like this. We had pulled a sucker off of the main plant earlier in the year, earlier in the summer, and planted the sucker, and the sucker grew into a massive tomato plant. And there's actually a ton of tomatoes on here. They've been neglected a bit because we've just been busy, obviously. And so I need to pick some of these off and just see if I can maybe make them a little bit more comfortable, time up a bit or whatever. But these are delicious. I love the blue goldberry cherries. They're really colorful too, which is nice. I liked the amount of color that we had in the garden this year, especially with our tomatoes. We got a bit adventurous with the tomatoes that we did. We did a lot of different varieties that we'd never done before, and they just turned out absolutely beautiful. So I'm definitely going to stick with that next year. But I think that I definitely also want to make sure I do a lot of, they're like red slicers. I feel like we didn't really quite have as many of those as I would have liked. So, but the blue goldberry cherries definitely staying on the list. This was another sucker that I had planted last minute. I mean, this one I feel like was really not that long ago. It may have been, I don't know, a month or so ago. I had him as a sucker, rooted him, and planted him in this big pot. So he's grown quite a bit, as well as this one. So I'm going to try and stake them up so they have a little bit more support, see if we can keep them going a little bit longer. Now when I say that I rooted suckers, I literally take a piece of the tomato plant and just cut it off at the base of the main stalk and then put it in water for probably a couple weeks until I start to see roots. So I'll show you here what an example of a sucker is. I had somebody asking me the other day to do a whole video on how I grow tomatoes. Unfortunately, it's just not the right time of the year for that, but maybe next year I'll be able to do one. But this is a really great trick to get free tomato plants. And so I'm going to go ahead and show you what I mean by that. I think I did do a video on rooting these last year. So I can see if I can pull that one up too and link it to this video. But I'll show you what I mean by rooting from a main tomato plant. Alright, so here we have our tomato plant. He's fairly large. This was a sucker that I rooted and grew, but you can continue to do this process for as long as your plants are alive. So when I say sucker, this is an example of a sucker. So you can see here how this branch kind of sprouts right from like the armpit of this plant. So this stalk right here is the main stalk. You can see it goes all the way to the top, and that's literally the main stalk that started this whole tomato. So you don't want to cut from the main stalk. You don't want to cut off the top of the main stalk, because then you will keep your tomato plant from growing any taller. So you want to make sure that you're only cutting from suckers, and this is how you identify a sucker, is it kind of starts to grow out of the armpit. A lot of times they'll start off very small. Let's see if I can find an example. So here is an example of a small one. So you can see this little tiny leaf here. It's coming right out of the armpit of the tomato. So that's the start of a sucker. Usually when I have a plant that is in a pot that I really don't need it to be going too wild, well, even the ones in the garden beds, a lot of times we'll pull these suckers off because we want them to focus on growing tomatoes as opposed to getting any larger. So I can just pinch these tiny ones off with my fingernail. So this one, since it's a little bit more established, I don't want to pinch it off with my fingernail because I don't want to hurt my main plant. So I'll just get a pair of snips, make sure that they're cleaned off. This one was clean until I started trimming this tomato plant. And you can just snip him as close to the base as possible. Then you can take your sucker that you snipped off. You can just put this in water, and then you can see these little tiny fibers on the ends of this stalk here. Each of those fibers will actually turn into a root system. It'll turn into a root if you allow it to sit with water or once you plant it. So that's why it's so important when you have new tomato plants to plant them really, really deep, because if you plant them really, really deep all the way up to the leaves here, you're going to have a much stronger root system. But in this case, you just want to make sure you put these in water for a couple weeks until you start to see roots. Once you see those roots, you can go ahead and plant them in soil. And so this is an example. He's a little thirsty. Like I said, we've neglected some of these plants, but this is an example of what a rooted one will look like. So I rooted it, I put it in this cup here with some soil, and once they get fairly large, about the size that you would buy them at a store, this is perfect size, you can go ahead and up pot them and put them in a larger pot and they'll keep growing. One more thing that is brand new. It's not completed entirely, but our kitchen. Mom and Dad came and they've been working all week on the kitchen floor, so I'll give you a shot of it. Obviously we're processing food and stuff right now. I'm working on making bone broth, and I'm bringing stuff from the garden, so there's stuff in places, but we live here, so I'll give you a shot of what it looks like. Really pretty. I'm so happy to have the floors done. It's been hard waiting for the floors to be done because we couldn't walk in here for days. So it turned out awesome. It's absolutely beautiful. I love it. I'm so excited to be in here. This is why I was like really excited. I was looking forward to today because I was like, oh, I can get all this stuff out of the garden and I can work in the new kitchen. Okay, so with the homegrown lettuce, I've grown lettuce here. Now I think this is my second year. I would have liked to have had a little bit more than we had this year. I don't really know what I did differently. Last year I feel like we just had copious amounts, and this year not so much, but we're finally picking from it. So what I like to use when cleaning my homegrown lettuce is a salad spinner. This is my second one. This one is OXO. And like I said, this is my second one. The first one that I got was all plastic. The actual bowl of it was plastic, and it cracked and didn't work very well. And with storage and you're putting it into cupboards, I mean, it was bound to crack. And so I was on a mission to find one with a metal bowl, and OXO offered one. So I'll show you a quick review on my lettuce spinner. I love it. It is amazing. It makes the job so much easier, dries the lettuce, and then I also keep it in this container and put it in the refrigerator even after I clean it, because it helps keep the lettuce nice and crisp. So this is the salad spinner, and like I said, it's a metal bowl, which is great because this obviously is gonna hold up and last forever. There's a grip on the bottom of it so that if it's wet, it's not sliding all over the table. Again, like I said, OXO, and if you're not familiar, the lid comes off. There's kind of this little mesh section in here where you put the lettuce in, and then so you can rinse your lettuce, put it in the bowl, put the lid back on, spin it, and then you can take your lettuce out by lifting this out, dump the excess water into the sink, and then you can put this back together and you can store this in the refrigerator, and it helps to keep your lettuce nice and crisp. So we're just rinsing to get off any dirt or bugs and throw it in here. Nice rinse to make sure that the lettuce is cleaned off. And you're just going to keep doing this until you're finished. I like to shred my lettuce, so I just ripped it up, and then I'm going to go ahead and spin it. Give it a couple good spins. That'll spin out all the excess water. Stop it, and we'll take a look. This is a lot easier to do with two hands. Okay, so now you can see, I mean, I'm probably going to spin it a couple more times, but for the sake of video, it's quite a bit drier, and then all of the excess water is down there in the bottom, and you can just dump that out. Put this back in, put the lid on it. You can continue to spin if you need to, or you can just pop it in the refrigerator and it's gonna stay perfect, and it's already ready for meals. So it makes it really easy to just kind of come in here, grab what you want, and go. Now, if you have a lot more lettuce, there's a whole nother plant outside I haven't even picked from yet. What else you can do is you can toss this lettuce into a freezer Ziploc bag and put it in the refrigerator, and that'll keep it nice and crisp as well if you just have too much lettuce to leave in this little salad spinner. But I'm telling you, it makes the job so much easier. As far as my basil goes, I'm gonna go ahead and just leave it in this basket for now and leave it out on the kitchen table because I have a ton more basil to pick. I have a whole bunch of herbs I'm picking this weekend too to start processing. And then I'm gonna break out the dehydrator and start there. So one thing that I was really excited about trying to grow this year was pumpkins. And the first pumpkin plant that we had found that had kind of sprouted on its own didn't make it. It got sick and died. We did get a couple pumpkins out of it though. We picked them when they were green. They were pie pumpkins, so they were the right size, but they were still green, but we had to pull the plant. Those pumpkins did end up turning orange and we have them, so I'm excited about that. But this here is one that I actually intentionally planted. It came from seeds that I saved from a Cinderella pumpkin that I bought last year. Look at this pumpkin. We are so proud. He's huge. Look at that. Isn't he pretty? I'm so excited. So this is our first Cinderella pumpkin. Obviously he's gonna sit out as a decoration for a little while, and then you can also cook with them. So we will be making some kind of pumpkin something. I'm excited. A lot of pumpkin something. It's been a while since we've showed you what we've got going on the deck, so I'm going to do a quick run through. Everything that we planted that's up here now, I think it was the second round, so everything that we started for the fall garden. So I'll quickly show you what we've got up here. So these are 2 squash plants. I don't really see any squash on them yet, but they are massive and healthy, so I'm happy about that. These are okra. There's actually one back here tucked under a leaf. I don't know. I've never grown okra, so this is really an experimental phase to see what happens here. I don't know if we'll have long enough to see anything out of them. This one here, I believe, is a zook. Some of the plants up here are starting to get like a mildew on them. I'm hoping that that doesn't take over before we're able to pick from them. But yeah, it looks like we've got a little tiny one started right there. Here I've got collard greens and mustard greens. This also was an experiment and it turned out awesome. I mean, they're crammed in here. It's time to pick from these guys. So they did really happy in that pot. Here I believe we have another squash. This is a zook and this is a squash, which you can see. We've got a little one there in the back. I'm not entirely sure what that is. I think that might be a squash as well. Those back there are okra. These are our eggplants, which we've got quite a few of them on here growing. Over here we've got green beans, which I've been picking from and probably need to pick from again. This, I think, yep, this is also a zook. Over here we got some of Tyler's stuff and my lettuce, some tomatoes, and some dill, which the dill is doing really well. So hopefully we're gonna have some cucumbers. I did start some pickling cucumbers down in the garden, so hopefully we'll have some on there that we can make some pickles out of. Here we have another zook, which we've got some zooks coming. Tyler's got beets down here. And then a few different types of lettuce that he started. Those look like cabbage, purple cabbage, bok choy. Up here we've got another eggplant, which is producing. These also cabbage and more bok choy. And then here is my Mad Hatter pepper, which I have been super excited about the last couple years. These are a lot of fun. So I'm happy that that happened because we almost didn't get them this year. Tyler's been working on transplanting the grapes, and then he filled in that garden bed. So we're gonna go and he's gonna show us what he did. The lighting is terrible, but look at these loofahs. We've got loofahs all over the place.
So we moved the grapes. They were here, so now we have all this extra space and it's not shaded by them. So these are the garlic that I had in pots. They were pretty root bound actually when I took them out, so I'm kind of glad that I put them in here. I used a lot of the dirt that was in there because there was actually like 50-50 dirt to manure ratio. So I put them all down here. They'll die back and come back in the spring. I'm gonna get some more garlic and plant the rest of that space in garlic. That way next year we'll have copious amounts, hopefully. I'm dying to make a garlic braid, so hopefully we can do that next year. And then I had started some kohlrabi, which there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows of, probably 5 a piece, so whatever that makes, 25 I guess. The stuff actually in the middle, I cut out these little divots. This is the comfrey from over there. You can use it as mulch, and that's pretty much what I do. Besides, I use it for comfrey tea as well, which we just did. And lucky that phone doesn't have smell-o-vision. Otherwise, you guys might be a little grossed out. But that's it for now. Kohlrabi, garlic, more garlic's on the way. We'll put that in there when it gets here. Radishes, carrots, dill. There's kale over here. I don't know if it's gonna do anything. Do you want to show the kale that's over there? It's not growing yet, but...
Sure. Can I get to it from this way?
Yeah, just don't step on anything. So where all that green stuff is on top of that straw, that's just more comfrey again. I trimmed the stuff that was growing. It grows really fast, so pretty much every 2 weeks you can get more. Underneath the straw, I planted that whole section all the way down with kale, using it pretty much as just a cover crop. So I'll probably feed some to the chickens. We'll probably eat a little bit here and there. But hopefully that comes up. It's a little late in the season, but around here I've seen it grow right through the snow. So we'll see what happens with that, but we're not losing anything by planting it. But it'll get ripped out next year. I don't know what's going back there yet, but we'll figure something out, I'm sure. Probably some berries.
So right here I have some muncher cucumbers I planted a few weeks ago. I did plant them all the way down, but the ones down here kind of died off. There's one over there in the far corner. Not sure that they're going to do much for us. I have my Swiss chard that we've had all summer long still here, and I'm getting ready to cut down some of this. I'm going to do, I think, like stuffed Swiss chard, so kind of like stuffed cabbage but with Swiss chard. So I might be doing that tomorrow. And then these are my pickling cucumbers, which you can see I actually have cukes coming on, so I'm excited about that. They are a little sickly looking, so hopefully they pull through and we can get some pickles out of them. This is Tyler's previous tomato bed. I think these are all either, I think they're beets.
All beets.
Yeah. So we've got some red beets in here and then a couple rows of golden beets that Tyler planted. These are my Cherokee Trail of Tears, the second round that I planted after I ripped out the other ones. Again, I don't know if they'll make it through a frost, but we're giving them a shot. I got one tomato plant left in this hay bale, and that's the yellow stuffer tomatoes. We have tomatoes on there, so we're not pulling it quite yet. This is my tomato bed. Again, same situation. They are just reaching the end of their life. But I have a lot of tomatoes on here still, so I'm hoping that I can let them go a week or so before a first frost. I've been keeping an eye on the weather so that we can try and get these guys to ripen before we have to pick them. We've got a ton of cucamelons still, so we're going to be processing some cucamelons tomorrow. And then I'm also going to be doing lima beans as well. So we've got to pick the lima beans too, so we're getting there. And then over here, I had talked to you guys a little bit about what I did here. I know I've got okra back here, and then some cabbage, Brussels sprouts, and eggplants, but they're all still very, very tiny. So I don't know that we're going to get anything out of these guys. These are my yellow stuffer tomatoes. They're still producing. I got a ton of tomatoes on there. So again, waiting to see if we can get them to ripen before the first frost. So I'm gonna grab my basket and get over there and start picking. And then I also had high expectations to pick a bunch of herbs from the herb bed today. That's gonna have to be a tomorrow thing. The day just got away from us. This herb bed has been highly neglected this year. It needs weeded and cleaned out, but I just wanted to show you guys what it looks like. It's full and thriving and gorgeous. And check this out. We got some volunteer borage, which I was so excited about because I didn't think I was gonna have any this year. Aren't those the most beautiful flowers? So we had looks like 3 volunteer borage plants. I'm definitely gonna be doing some honey medicine with my lemon balm. This was a volunteer from last year, and then this one over here I purchased this year to plant, and then we ended up with a couple more volunteers, so I was really happy to see that come back. They didn't come back very soon in the spring. They kind of came back halfway through the summer, so that's why I bought another plant, because I didn't think I was going to have any, so I'm really excited that they're here. Cleaning out the chicken coop was on the to-do list today. We forgot, so Tyler's knocking it out. This is what's so great about how he built this. It is so easy to clean out this coop. We just wheel over a wheelbarrow, rake everything into the wheelbarrow, and take it over to the compost bin. Super simple. Great lighting. So I'm out here picking cucamelons. It's like the never-ending story. They're so cute. So we have an abundance of them, and again, I'm trying to like get ahead of this a little bit. We can really be expecting a frost anytime. The soonest I think they say is like roughly October 13th for my area. So I'm trying to just get ahead of this so that we don't have to do all of this like the night before frost. But I'm out here picking cucamelons. I came over here to pick lima beans. Now I'm picking cucamelons. Look at this stash. Big old basket full. I mean, that is a really big basket. Oh my word. The problem is they can hide on you. So you kind of have to like look at every angle to make sure you're not missing anything. I'm sure I am, but that's fine. We can always pick them later. All right, you guys. So I have a little surprise for you, and I wanted to show you guys this. Tyler proposed to me a week and a day ago, and he did it in the garden, which was perfect, our favorite place to be together. And he had set it up so beautifully. He had put out lights in the garden, and he had music going, and the weather was still warm. I'm out here in a sweatshirt right now, but like it was so much warmer last week, I swear. And so I just wanted to show you guys the setup that he did for the proposal. Check it out. So this table and chairs behind me, he had set up with a white tablecloth and a bottle of champagne, and it was gorgeous. He had a fire lit in the fire pit, and music playing, and it was absolutely beautiful. It was a really special night. I honestly don't think he could have done any better. But I'm really glad that I got to share this with you guys, because I know he put a lot of effort in to doing this, and I just think it's absolutely beautiful. I love the fact that we have the lights now in the garden that we can leave up forever and as a reminder of such a special night. So as always, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today, and I look forward to sharing more with you soon.